What a fall from grace for TNT. I cannot remember the last time that I have seen an act of desperation like this. This network went from being the home of the NBA to being the home of something called Unrivaled. TNT went from broadcasting the best basketball in the world to hoping and praying that Unrivaled looks absolutely nothing like the WNBA. TNT is going from legends like Charles Barkley, Shaq, Kenny Smith, Ernie Johnson, arguably the best studio crew in the history of sports broadcasting. TNT is going from that to Jemele Hill? Smelly Jemele? Well, I guess I shouldn't say TNT. Turner Sports does own the network, but even they haven't reached the point of desperation to where they are putting Jemele Hill on a major network. Instead, they decided to bury Jemele on something called TruTV. Just think about that for a second. The Queen of Deception, one of the matriarchs of mythical racism, a professional propagandist, is working at a network called True TV? Seems like a complete conflict of interest to me, but what the hell do I know? If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you happen to stumble across this video, be sure to check out my main channel, Behind the Line. Search Behind the Line here on YouTube. Should be the first channel that comes up. Let me ask you something. How many opportunities is Jemele Hill going to get to further prove that she is a huge embarrassing failure? How many times are we going to see this same story illustrated? Look, I am happy that Jemele Hill has finally found gainful employment. I mean, this poor woman, she has been unemployed for years now. She has been desperately trying to get back into the mainstream media, but the problem is, there aren't many networks looking for a past their prime propagandist whose only discernible skill is fabricating stories of racism. Now, if this were 4 years ago, Smelly Jamelle, she would be the top free agent in the media. But with the business of mythical racism on life support, with the only survivor of the business being Joy Reid, there just aren't many networks looking to hire people like Jemele Hill, or the originator of the term huge embarrassing failure, Bomani Jones. To their credit, I guess, Turner Sports, they weren't dumb enough to put Jemele on TNT. They knew that she wasn't ready for a mainstream audience. So they decided to bury her on some dump called True TV, which I believe used to be Court TV. This show, it is being produced by Uninterrupted, which is the production company belonging to LeBron James. Believe it or not, LeBron's company, they do some great work. If you haven't watched Starting Five on Netflix, you should go check it out. Really gives you a new perspective on NBA players and what they go through during the season. But I'm struggling to understand how LeBron goes from producing that crown jewel to producing this polished turd. Mark my words. This show with Jemele Hill, it is a guaranteed failure. This turd does not have a chance at sniffing success. How do I know that? What is the best way to predict the future? You look to the past. Let's look at the recent history of Jemele Hill and see if we can find something that even remotely resembles success. 2021, she partners with her sister in woke, Carrie Champion, Carrie Runner Up. Who cares? It doesn't matter what her name is. They were on a show on Vice called Carrie and Jemele Won't Stick to Sports. Now, for the most part, the show was dedicated to creating stories of racism. As expected, viewers didn't want to hear two privileged women lecturing them on what it's like to be the ultimate victim. So Vice canceled the show after a few episodes. Remember that sympathy deal that Smelly Jemele got from Spotify? Spotify gave her hundreds of thousands of dollars to be the exclusive home of her podcast. I think it was called Jemele Hill is Unbothered, which is true. That was true. Jemele Hill has been unbothered. Her phone never rings because no one wants to hire her. Spotify, they didn't mind donating woke welfare to Smelly Jemele when the fad of mythical racism was at its pinnacle, but as soon as the fad ended, Spotify fired Jemele. They couldn't figure out a way to monetize her because no one was listening to her shitty podcast. Remember that table proper that Jemele released a couple of years ago? I think she called it a memoir. The book was so unpopular, they could not give away free copies to libraries. Since she was fired by ESPN, it has been one embarrassing failure after another for Jemele Hill. I thought the misery was over. I thought Jemele Hill was tired of the punishment of failure. But she is back again to embarrass herself with another guaranteed failure. I don't know when this show premieres on TruTV. I don't think any of you guys really care. I don't know if it's a nightly show, a weekly show. For her sake, I hope it's weekly. I would hate to see Jemele experience failure 5 nights a week. Once a week, that should be more than enough. What I do know is, this show is going to be a disaster. I would assume that ratings are going to be so low, they are not going to be able to be measured. When I saw this headline yesterday afternoon, my first question was why? Why is Jemele Hill doing this? Normally, it's the other way around. Normally, high-profile personalities, they leave the mainstream media for one reason or another. They launch their own platform and they use their high profile to instantly build it up. In most cases, they are very successful. Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Bill O'Reilly, Glenn Beck. Hell, Glenn Beck, he was the pioneer. He's one of the first ones to do this and prove it can work. But with Jemele Hill, with Smelly Jemele, it's the other way around. Why? I mean, she tried to do this. She tried to launch her own platform. No one was interested. I think Jemele Hill's doing this because she needs this job. Now, she probably doesn't need it for the money. She needs it for the relevance. Because Jemele Hill, she is not capable of maintaining relevance on her own. But give me your thoughts on this. Turner Sports hires Jemele Hill and they bury her on TruTV. I only see one way that this story ends: huge embarrassing failure. What about you? Can Jemele Hill make a comeback? Can she finally find a way to succeed? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys on the main channel.